And these are delayed, by the way, the clocks.
Okay.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
Is the 40-foot right-of-way requested by the outside agency, is that a stipulation, or the only stipulations officially the 1 through 4?
Well, we
here? I
would,
mean,
we would make sure that you make that change to the plat, yeah.
Is that effectively a stipulation?
Yeah,
Then
yeah, because they're
based on
asking
their-
for
Based
it.
on their comments?
Yeah. Is there an issue with that?
Yeah, I think there's some pushback on granting that, but we just wanted to see if it was
Well, it's not listed as a condition, so you don't need to make that argument tonight. We'll have to work that out with highway.
gotcha.
So,
Okay,
yeah, I don't think
by-
that's, if, the only condition that I thought there was opposition to possibly was the shed and about this.
Yeah, and that's, and I think what we're gonna ask for there is just by a certain date.
Okay, that's
You know,
fine.
just that
So,
we'll agree to it. I mean, it'll be just a clarification.
yeah, so the right-of-way is not a condition, so I don't think you need to make that argument. We'll get with highway between now and when we go to county commission and see
Gotcha.
what they say. So call the office and talk, why don't you call tomorrow or the next day and we'll talk about what the issue is and how we resolve it.
Okay, so the planning commission wouldn't necessarily,
No, because
That's
it's not
the same,
listed,
because
no,
it's
because
just the highway.
it's just a comment at this point. Are you gonna take this? Let me put it up there.
Yeah, that's, you can put it up there.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our Tuesday, June 6th, 2023 Clay County Plan and Zoning meeting. We have a few housekeeping rules, please. Tonight, we will hear 12 cases. We will begin with a report from the Plan and Zoning staff that will summarize each case prior to any discussion the board members may have. We will then ask the applicant to step up to the podium to ask or answer any questions and present support of their application. We ask the applicant to begin by stating their name and address for the record, as these meetings are recorded. We will then ask for any public participation that may support the case being heard, and then anyone that may oppose the case being heard. Again, asking any participant to begin by stating their name and address. And please remember, the topic of discussion needs to remain pertinent to the case being heard. And could we have a roll call, please?
Terry Griffin.
Present.
David Rodas. Mike Brinkley.
Present.
Brad Scarlett.
Present.
Jerry Nolte.
Here.
Mark Beggs.
Present.
Randall Morris.
Present.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Present. The second item on our agenda is the meeting minutes from the April 4th, 2023.
Commissioner, if I may on that, my understanding is those minutes need some slight revision, so we're going to ask you not to take a vote on that, and you'll have those in front of you next month.
Very well, so be it, thank you. All right. The first case we'll hear tonight is case number June 23-125RZ/F. And could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
All right, this proposed subdivision of Saxbury Acres, this is a replat of the Millen subdivision of lots 4 and 5. Currently, the property sits at 21 acres, zone agricultural, and is, consists of 2 lots and has the access from North Stark Avenue. This proposal is simply just a lot line adjustment. It will remain 2 lots, but we are rezoning the property from agricultural to residential rural, as that meets the current rezoning standards for this lot size. With this proposal, the utility easement between the lots of the property as it sits today will be vacated, and I will address this more in the next case. And with that vacation of that easement, there will be new utility easements added to the new property lines. The applicant is also proposing an agricultural land preservation. You can see there in the blue, that would be one of the lots. That's going to be the one that will be for a future single-family home. The green lot is where there's an existing house on. And then that yellow line's that easement to be vacated. This proposal falls under the urban services tier of the Clay County 2008 Comprehensive Plan, which allows for 1 unit per 20 acres, or an exception to that 20-acre minimum being 10-plus acres with an agricultural land preservation. Staff believes that this case is compliant with the comp plan by meeting the exception and including the agricultural land preservation. Also on your screen, you will see the rezoning criteria. This is the same criteria that we use with any of our rezoning cases, and it's also attached with your staff report. This would be the surrounding areas. There in that blue is going to be the subject parcel. There in the red is going to be the city limits of Kansas City. This parcel does fall within that mile city limits of Kansas City. We did not receive any comments from that city about this proposal. Over there in that yellow line there, that's going to be a highway. And you can kind of look around on this map and see some of the newer interior street subdivisions we've done. We got Eagle View over there by a highway, Eastern Estates, which is currently in development. And then we got Johnson Ridge in the top left corner. So just kind of give you an idea where this is located. Let's see here. The staff has received no opposition leading up to the planning and zoning meeting. With all of our rezoning cases, we publish the case in the newspaper. We post a rezoning site on site and send certified letters with property within 1,000 feet. In this case, we sent a total of 25. Staff did not require any outside agencies' approval due to this case dealing with a lot line adjustment of already pre-existing 2 lots. Although the Clay County Highway Department had submitted comments requesting that the culvert for Lot 1 was replaced or cleaned out as it is 100% silted. Staff is recommending approval with 2 conditions. One being changes to the recording copies of the plat, and the second one to remove silt or replace a culvert for the Lot 1. Staff would be happy to answer any of the questions the commissioners might have, and the applicant is present.
All right, thank you, Shane. I do have one question for you. Was unable to find on the survey the width of the county right-of-way. And that's one of the items in Exhibit A to add the right-of-way, but it's not given the width, if that could be added. Or Terry, would you have anything to add to that?
We're requesting a 40-foot right-of-way there from the center of the road.
Okay.
And that's kind of in keeping with the rest of the nearby properties.
Okay. All right. That answers my question. Do any board members have a question for staff? All right, thank you, Shane. If the applicant would like to step up to the podium, please.
Good evening, Jeff Saxbury, 12811 North Stark Avenue, Liberty, Missouri, 64068.
Mr. Saxbury, do you understand the staff's report and the minor requests that they have?
I do.
You're in agreement?
I am.
Okay. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? Okay. All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the application? With none, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that opposes the applicant? Kip, with the rezoning is one motion and then the final plat is a separate motion that follows immediately.
Yes, sir. We'll do a vote on the rezoning and then a vote on the final plat.
With no additional discussion, I will call for a motion to approve the rezoning of Saxbury Acres. Motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Very well. Do we have a second?
Second.
Very well. Can I have a roll call vote?
David Rotis.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I'd like to roll right into a motion to approve the final plat of Saxbury Acres with the conditions attached as set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote?
David Rotis.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The second case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-126V. And could we have a staff report?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
Alrighty, so this is kind of what I alluded to with the last case. This deals with a utility easement vacation for the previous lot, so for the Millen subdivision, excuse me. This is the approval criteria. So I'll go ahead and go line by line because this is a short and sweet one. Due and legal notice has been provided as required by the section. No private rights will be injured or endangered by the vacation. The public will suffer no loss or inconvenience from the vacation. And in justice to the applicant, the vacation should be approved. This is, the subject parcel we're talking about, that yellow line there, it would be indicating the utility easement that would be vacated. And again, it's a little bit harder to see, but on your screen there, you can kind of see where those new property lines would be, and there would be utility easements along this as well. We've sent out notice for comments from utility providers on May 5th. We have not received any opposition from the utility providers or property owners leading up to this meeting, and staff is recommending approval with the one condition that deals with the vacation resolution being recorded with the final plat. Staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have, and the applicant is present.
All right. Thank you, Shane. I think it's a pretty straightforward application. Do any board members have questions for staff? Okay. With none, thank you, Shane. With the applicant, please step up to the podium.
Good evening. Jeff Saxbury again, 12811 North Stark Avenue, Liberty, Missouri.
Mr. Saxbury, you understand the staff's recommendation and the request,
I do.
and you're in agreement?
I am.
I think it's pretty straightforward. So.
Yes.
Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the applicant? With none, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the case being heard? Then with no further discussion, I will call for a motion to approve the easement vacation on lots 5A and 5B, replat lots 4 and 5 of Miller subdivision with the condition attached as set out in Exhibit A. Have a motion?
Move to approve with condition.
Very well. Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote.
David Rotis.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-127P. And could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman, would like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
So this is K&D Acres. It's currently roughly 50 acres. You can see it there in red on the screen. It's zoned agricultural. It exists as one lot, and it has access from northeast to 196th Street. So the proposal is to divide it into 2 lots. You can see one in red, one in purple, roughly 24 to 25 acres per lot. They could stay zoned agricultural, so we're not doing a rezoning because the county's current standard is 20-plus acres to keep your ag zoning. Access comes from 196th Street, and there would be a access easement for the lot indicated in red because the entire road frontage goes with the purple lot. Now, the county has minimum road frontage or width requirements for the lots. 4 lots that have road frontage, the purple lot does meet the minimum width, and the county also has width to depth ratio because that is a pretty deep lot. It's right at the maximum, but it does meet the county standards. That's why you see that little red area that wraps in behind because it couldn't go the full length. So there is an indication of where the access easement would be. The comp plan tells us this is in the rural low density tier. In this area, 5+ acres are acceptable. Anywhere in the county, a 20+ acre lot is acceptable. Obviously, these both being 20+ acres, staff believes this is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Here's the surrounding area, the lot in red. Clinton County line is just to the north, indicated in purple. That's I-35 to the west. And, you know, this is a largely agricultural area. It's, you know, obviously as far north as you can get in Clay County. Everything light green is zoned agricultural, so it's completely surrounded by ag zoning, and we believe this meets the area. There are a few R5 and R1 zone lots to the south and east, but there's not very many. It's mainly an ag zoned area. We received no opposition for this case. We did not have to put this in the newspaper because it did not include a rezoning. We sent a total of 5 letters to adjacent property owners, and we did not receive any objections from outside agencies. And staff is recommending approval with 2 conditions, which are some minor changes to the recording copy of the plat, and then we would require that they record a shared access agreement between the 2 lots for that shared access. Again, this is just a subdivision of 50 acres into 2 lots with no rezoning. I'd be happy to answer any questions commissioners may have, and the applicants are present as well.
All right, thank you, Kip. Do any board members have questions for staff regarding the case being heard? All right, thank you, sir. If the applicant would please step up to the podium. You state your name and address, please.
Dave Roberts, 8410 Southeast Tanglewood Lane, Lawson.
All right, Mr. Roberts, do you understand the staff's report and the conditions they've set out?
Yes, I do.
And are you in agreement?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Do any board members have questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, Mr. Roberts.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the application being heard? With none, if there's anyone in the audience that would like to comment that supports the case being heard? No further discussion. I would Call for the approval of the preliminary plat of K&D Acres with the conditions attached as set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
We'll give that one to Mark. We have a roll call vote?
David Rotis,
Yes.
Mark Beggs,
Yes.
Terry Griffin,
Yes.
Mike Brinkley,
Yes.
Brad Scarlett,
Yes.
Jerry Nolte,
Yes.
Randall Morris,
Yes.
and Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-128F. And could we have staff's report?
Yes, Chairman, would like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
So this is the final plat for the case we just heard. With the final plat, basically what we're looking at is that there are not significant changes from that preliminary plat. So staff believes this is compliant with the preliminary, the lot sizes, number of lots, none of that has changed from the preliminary plat. And staff is recommending approval with two conditions, which are the same conditions from the preliminary plat. Be happy to answer any questions board members have, and the applicant is present.
All right. Thank you, Kip. Do any board members have questions for staff? With none, if the applicant, please step up to the podium. Get your name and address, please, sir.
Dave Roberts, 8410 Southeast Tanglewood Lane, Lawson.
And Mr. Roberts, are you you understand the staff's report and in agreement with the conditions they've set out?
Yes, I do.
Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the application? With none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the case being heard? With no further discussion, I would call for a motion to approve the final plat of K&D Acres with the conditions set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
Give that one to Mike. Very well, can I have a roll call vote?
David Rotis,
Yes.
Mark Beggs,
Yes.
Terry Griffin,
Yes.
Mike Brinkley,
Yes.
Brad Scarlett,
Yes.
Jerry Nolte,
Yes.
Randall Morris,
Yes.
Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-129P. And could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
All right. This is the proposed subdivision of Hilton Family Homestead. This case is very similar to the case we just heard because of it's a preliminary and a final. Currently, the property is roughly 45 acres. It's unplatted, zoned agricultural, and has access from E-Highway. The proposal is a lot split. The applicant is wanting to split this lot into two 20-plus acre lots. These lots will remain zoned agricultural because that meets the current zoning standard. It will have a shared access from E-Highway. And we can see here in the red, that'll be your lot 1 on the screen. And this kind of dark blue color would be lot 2. That yellow line there would end up being the shared driveway. And then that blue would be that blue line stream because there is floodplain and a blue line stream on the property. This property falls under the natural resources tier of the 2008 comprehensive plan. Staff believes that this is compliant with the comp plan as the applicant is proposing the 20-acre minimum for properties in this tier. This would be the surrounding area. Highlighted in blue up there would be the subject parcel. There in red would be the Smithville Lake Reservoir. We have E-Highway there in that purplish color. And as you can see, kind of around this area, all the PODs there, you can kind of see within the last 10, 12 years, we've had quite a bit of development in this area. So those kind of indicate your agricultural land preservation, so. Staff hasn't received any opposition leading up to this meeting. This case was not published in a newspaper due to no rezoning. Property owners within 1,000 feet were sent letters. We sent a total of 22. We did not have any objections from outside agencies and got all the necessary approvals. Staff has recommended approval with 2 conditions, which include changes to the recording copies of the plat and recording a shared access easement. Staff would be happy to answer any questions commissioners may have, and the applicant is present.
All right, thank you, Shane. I think it's pretty straightforward. If any board members have questions for staff?
Yeah, I've got a question. So why the shared access? Looks like we've got plenty of length. Is
Yeah.
it because of the stream buffer?
Part of, because the stream buffer, I believe there was already an existing access there with the get to that back acreage. And MoDOT tends to be more strict when it comes to allowing for multiple driveways. I think the applicant may be able to shed a little bit more light on that.
And if I can just add, MoDOT is getting much more strict on their access. And one of the stipulations in Chapter 8 of our Land Development Code says we should limit driveways if we can. So to me, this is a good, if MoDOT agrees to it, we've kind of been going along with it. Even though it does, I get the concern sometimes about the shared access because they can become issues. But on the state highways, we're seeing it more and more, for sure.
Okay.
All right, any other questions from the board members for staff? All right, thank you, Shane. If the applicant could please step up to the podium.
Russell Hilton, 3510 County Road B, Liberty, Missouri.
And Mr. Hilton, do you understand the staff's report and the minor requests that they have on the conditions?
Yes, we do.
And you're in agreement?
I'm in agreement.
All right. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? All right. Don't go far.
Yeah,
Okay.
baby, go around.
Yep. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that supports the case being heard? With none, I would call, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the case being heard? With no additional discussion or further discussion, I'd call for a motion to approve the preliminary plat of Hilton Family Homestead with the conditions attached as set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second?
We have a roll call vote?
David Rotis,
Yes.
Mark Beggs,
Yes.
Terry Griffin,
Yes.
Mike Brinkley,
Yes.
Brad Scarlett,
Yes.
Jerry Nolte,
Yes.
Randall Morris,
Yes.
and Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-130F. And could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman. I would like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
All right, so this is the final plat to the case we just heard. Staff believes that it meets the land development code section, or the land development section of the code that deals with final plats. We believe it's consistent. We don't. There's no major changes, and we are recommending approval with 2 conditions, which include changes to the recording copies of the plat and recording a shared access easement. Again, staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have, and the applicant is present.
Yeah, a quick question, Shane. The survey for the final plat is the survey that will follow the property and be recorded?
Correct.
Okay. All right, that's all that I have. Any other board members have questions for staff? Okay, thank you, Shane. Would the applicant please step up to the podium?
Russell Hilton, 3510 County Road B, Liberty, Missouri.
Very well, Mr. Hilton, do you understand and agree with the staff's report and the
Yes, I do.
recommendations? All right. Very well, thank you so much. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the applicant? With none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the case being heard? With none and with no additional discussion, I would call for a motion to approve the final plat of the Hilton Family Homestead with the conditions attached as set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote?
David Rotis.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-131RZ/P. And could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
All right, this is the proposed subdivision of Petty Estates. Currently, the property is roughly 113 acres, unplatted, zoned agricultural, and has access off of Northeast 116th Street and Petty Road. The proposal is to carve off roughly 5 acres, or excuse me, 5.5 acres in the existing home from the nearly 113 acre total, creating one platted lot and leaving the remaining 107, 108 acres as unplatted. This property would be accessed from Northeast 116th Street, the platted lot. You kind of see on your screen there that blue would be the 5 acre lot, obviously, and then the green would be the rest of the acreage. This proposal falls under the urban services tier of the Clay County 2008 comprehensive plan, which allows for 1 unit per 20 acres or an exception to the 20 acre minimum being 10 plus acres with an agricultural land reservation, or with an exception to that 10 acres being that the city within 1 mile may review and recommend exceptions. For this case, the City of Liberty has sent us comments granting that exception. So staff believes that this proposal is compliant with the 2008 comprehensive plan. And on your screen, again, that's our standard rezoning criteria, what we follow with any of our rezoning cases. And it's attached with your staff report. This would be the surrounding area. You can see there in the blue, that's a highlighted total of 113 acres. That little yellow outline with that would be the 5 acre. If you see there in the red, that is the city limits of Liberty, so it's right across the street. We're looking up there at that purple, that's the city limits of Kearney, so it's sandwiched in between 2 different city limits. You can look along, that's I-35. You can see the subdivision Prairie Field to the west, along with Highway 33 and Highway 69 to the east. Staff has not received any opposition leading up to this case, or leading up to this meeting. As with all of our rezoning cases, we publish them in the newspaper, we post a rezoning sign on the site, and send certified letters to all property owners within 1,000 feet. For this case, it's been a total of 23. We have not received any objections from outside agencies. They have given their approval. Staff is recommending approval with 2 conditions that include changes to the recording copies of the plat. And one of those are to either remove the silt from the culvert or replace the culvert for the west entrance of the proposed platted lot. And again, staff would be happy to answer any questions commissioners might have, and the applicants are present.
I got a question for you, Shane. If this is presently agricultural land, it's being rezoned to residential R5 ranchette. Would it not require an L on this 5 acre?
Yeah, so with this case, with that exception to the comprehensive plan, we allow for the cities within a mile to grant exceptions. They granted an exception to this size of lot. They never indicated on the agricultural land preservation.
And I'll add to that a little bit. There's an exception for a farmstead dwelling, and I believe this met the farmstead dwelling. In the comp plan, if a house qualifies as a farmstead dwelling, which by the code it existed pre-1980, then the ALP is not required for that lot if it's under 20 acres.
All right. Thank you. Do any board members have other questions for staff? All right. Thank you, Shane. Yep. If the applicant could please step up to the podium.
Martin Mueller, 16215 Baxter Road, Excelsior Springs.
And Mr. Mueller, do you understand and agree with the staff's report and the
I do.
recommendations?
I do.
Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the application? With none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the application being heard? With none and no further discussion, would call for the rezoning of Petty Estates.
Move to approve.
Very well. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote.
David Rotis.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I think we can go ahead and roll right into the preliminary plat of Petty Estates, and I would call for a motion to approve the preliminary plat of Petty Estates with the conditions attached as set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote.
David Rotis.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-132F. And could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman, I'd like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
All right, so this is the final plat of the case we just heard. Staff believes that it meets the land development code, the section that deals with the final plat. We believe that's consistent with the preliminary plat. Staff is recommending approval with the two conditions, which include changes to recording copies of the plat, and again, removing the silt or replacing the culvert of the west entrance to the proposed platted lot. Staff would be happy to answer any questions the commissioners may have, and the applicant is present.
All right. Yeah, I think this is pretty straightforward, Shane. Do any board members have questions for staff? All right. Thank you, sir. Would the applicant please step up to the podium?
Martin Mueller, 16215 Baxter Road, Excelsior Springs, Missouri.
Mr. Mueller, do you understand and agree with the staff's report and the recommendations?
I do.
All right. Do the board members have any questions for the applicant? All right. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you.
Yep. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the application? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that opposes the application? Then with no further discussion, I would call for a motion to approve the final plat of Petty Estates with the conditions attached as set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with condition.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
We have roll call vote?
David Rotis.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-133 RZ/P. Can we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman, would like to add the staff report as part of the official record. So this is Sampson Meadow. Currently, you can see it's outlined in yellow, roughly 34 acres. It's unplatted, it's zoned agricultural. It exists as one lot, and it has access from Plattsburgh Road to the east. It's roughly located at 126 in Plattsburgh Road. The proposal is to divide it into two lots. You can see the lot in red is Lot 2, which is a hair over 5 acres. Lot 1, roughly 28, 29 acres in blue. Lot 1 would not have to be rezoned again because it meets that 20-acre minimum. The proposal is to rezone the 5-acre lot to R5, which is residential ranchette. That's the county's current standard for lots that are 5 acres or larger, but less than 10 acres. There is floodplain on the property indicated in the kind of the darker blue. In that floodplain is also a blue line stream, which would have a stream setback that basically becomes a no-build zone. And this case was approved for a variance by the Board of Zoning Adjustment. It exceeds that width to depth ratio that we talked about earlier, but they were granted the variance, so it is compliant as far as staff is concerned with the land development code. So both lots, road frontage wise, width to depth wise, with that variance are compliant with the land development code. Now, here's where it gets a little bit complicated. So the comp plan tells us this is located in the urban services tier. That is a 10+ acre area, and I just talked about a 5-acre lot. So the comp plan says this is a 10+ acre area unless you meet one of the exemptions, which one of the exemptions is a city within a mile can grant an exemption to that lot size requirement. This property is within a mile of the city of Kearney and 1.5 miles of the city of Liberty. So staff reached out to both of those jurisdictions. City of Liberty came back with no comment. City of Kearney came back that this was outside their annexation area and basically didn't give an approval. It has those same 5 rezoning criteria, actually, 5 criteria that the previous cases had that were included in your staff report. Here is the surrounding area. So there's the subject parcel in blue. We've got City of Kearney to the north and east, City of Liberty to the south and east, and City of Kansas City to the south and west. Now, it's closer to Liberty and Kearney than Kansas City. And this is a unique area. It's got a lot of interior streeted subdivisions. So you can see Prairie Field and Private Gardens are the 2 subdivisions on the south of the map that are in pink. And then just to the north and west of this parcel is Oak Brook, which those lots are an acre or so. Some may even be smaller than that. And also Oak Ridge, which is right next to Oak Brook. So there's still is some ag zoning, which you can see in the kind of the light green, but there's a lot of interior streeted subdivisions, and there's quite a few of the yellow and the orange zoning. That's R1 and R5. Those lots are anywhere from 3 to 5 to up to 10 acres. So this area has everything from large lots to very small interior streeted subdivisions. Staff received no opposition. We did publish this case in the newspaper, sent 23 certified letters. Did not get any objections from outside agencies. Now, staff is recommending denial because of that lot size guidance in the 2008 comprehensive plan. So the comprehensive plan is a little bit different than the land development code. We can request a variance from the land development code. The comp plan is more of a guide. So staff's has tried to be pretty consistent. If somebody's proposing something smaller than what the comp plan guides us, we've been pretty consistent that we're going to recommend denial. Now, if Planning and Zoning Commission and County Commission want to approve that because it matches the surrounding area, then I think you could choose to do that. So staff's recommending denial. However, if you do vote to approve, staff is recommending 4 conditions. Some changes to the recording copy of the plat. There is, and I'll go back a little bit, there is a building. You see right where on the backside, it'd be the west side of the red lot, you can see a building on the property line. So that would need to be moved or demolished. We have it as, because our standard procedure is that that be moved or demolished before the recording of the final plat. I believe the applicant's going to request that you amend that, but they'll have a presentation on that. And then similar to the previous cases, there's some silt in a culvert that the highway department wants either removed or replaced. And there is an access easement that may or may not be used as part of this property. But since it is shown on the plat, we would want an access agreement between the 2 lots. So I know that's a lot of information really quick. I'd be happy to answer any questions board members have, and then the applicants are present as well.
Could you go back to the kind of the area map that shows the different subdivisions that are within a half mile or mile? And, see that Riverview Estates? Did you say those were like 1 acre lots?
Which one are you referring to?
Be just to the west and south?
Those, I believe, are 3 to 5 acre lots. In the orange?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are, generally the orange and the yellow will be 3 to 5. Some of them may get up to close to 10, but a lot of those are 3 to 5 acres.
And then directly across Plattsburgh Road, there's Okerson Acres.
Yeah, and I wish my laser worked. I believe directly across the street, I believe those are in the 5 acre range.
Across the street and to the south.
Right, those 3 lots right in a row, I believe those are in the 5 acre range.
So this 5 acre tract that Sampson Meadows just in the northeast corner of this 34 acre tract.
Yeah.
It's basically diagonally across the street from 5 acre lot.
Yes, sir.
And this is the variance that's been granted to the applicant by the new BZA.
Yes, so now we'll talk about this as part of the Land Development Code amendments, but the Board of Zoning Adjustment now is 3 county commissioners, and they granted a variance to exceed the width to depth ratio. So it basically allows that, if I go back to the lot in blue, it allows that lot to be deeper than what the Land Development Code allows. Right now, we take our road frontage times 4, and that's the maximum depth. This exceeds that, but they received the variance.
Then some of this you also is that lot 2 is a little over 5 acres, and this is really an R1 or a 10 acre area.
It is by the comp plan, but as the Planning and Zoning Commission knows, the comp plan is getting reviewed. We're just kicking that off, so that could change in the future, but by the current comp plan, yes, this is a 10 acre area.
All right, I'm good. Any other board members have questions for staff?
I have a question. You said that Kearney and Liberty did not approve the variance, but did they specifically disapprove?
So we reached out, so they didn't, for the variance, no. But we reached out for comment as part of the plating. They did not express any opposition.
Gotcha.
They basically, Kearney said it's outside our area. My guess, this is kind of in a weird area because it's far enough out that they don't have plans to annex it anytime soon. So it's hard to get comments from cities when it's that far out. So they basically said no comment, but you're correct, they did not give any opposition.
Okay, good.
All right, any other questions from the board, from staff?
Sure looks like there's plenty of examples around the 3 to 5 acre lots close.
Yeah, I think my biggest problem is that we've been trying to get away from these piano key type developments for the last 15 years. And here we are, we're back to granting variances, so, yeah, don't know that I can support this, but.
And I believe the applicant does have a presentation.
All right. Very well. Will the applicant please step up to the podium?
Well, good evening, Commission. My name is Brian Hill. I'm with MKEC Engineering. I'm here tonight on behalf of Alan and Diane Sampson, property owners for property that Kip has discussed. I'm going to add a little more information regarding the conditions of the site. Try not to duplicate a lot of what Kip reviewed with the staff report. As Kip mentioned, site conditions are a 33.9 acre unplatted parcel. There's an existing single-family home here along the north side of the site with an out barn storage building to the west. The site has extensive natural conditions to it. It has a significant floodplain, stream channel, very steep slopes within these wooded areas throughout the site. As well as a lot of timber. It's very proximate to the Fishing River. The river literally just cuts the corner of the property there to the northwest. That floodplain backs up into the property there from the Fishing River. This shows the conditions here relative to the two lots that are being proposed. Lot 1, the 29-acre lot, and then the little over 5-acre Lot 2. Both of those will be residential uses. The Lot 2 here will accommodate the existing single-family residential home that's on the property now. And Lot 1 will accommodate a new residential home, single-family residential home for the Sampson family. As Kip noted, this was approved by the BZA with this lot configuration 3-0 on April 25th. A few more property considerations here. Really, the western and southern parts of the site are not conducive for development just due to the stream channel, the floodplain, the steep slopes. These conditions are unique to the site, and they weren't created by the owner over time with any of their changes to the property. These are unique to this property. So in regard to Lot 2, just with the discussion of the Lot 2 acreage there, again, both lots have frontage on Plattsburgh Road. They exceed the county required lot frontage for lots. The size also accommodates the existing home here. That creates a lot for this home. This also then creates area, true developable, buildable area for the new home here. Really these areas to the south with the steep slopes coming into the ravine and the floodplain of the blue line considerations really make this area, the southern area of the property and the western area of the property very difficult to develop, very costly. So really what this 5 acres does, it really makes this property conducive for both homes there to be constructed and provide usable areas. Also preserves a lot of the natural area on the property. We're not dividing this up into multiple things where they're going to come in and chop down timber and chop it up to try to get multiple, a lot of homes on this property. It preserves all the natural vegetation and habitat there within Lot 1 of the subdivision. Again, just provides more space on the property. Again, this is only one 5-acre lot. We're not proposing to come in with 55-acre lots or some large subdivision of 5-acre lots. This is just one lot to accommodate the home and provide buildable area for the new home. And BZA was supportive, and the neighbors have also been supportive of the plat. And their neighbors here at the BZA meeting, and Sampson have had discussion with their neighbors both to the north and south of this and around, and they have been supportive of the proposal. Again, as you mentioned, requesting the rezoning to R5 residential ranchette, which supports the 5-acre lot size. Kip reviewed this a little bit. We went through and did a pretty quick search of just a lot of the similar 5-acre lots that surrounded this property. So these, I'll go through these slides pretty quickly.
We've got several cases yet here.
Yeah, I'll go through this. But here's 25 examples of 5-acre lots that are within a mile or less of the property that surround it. I think you mentioned that they were even across the street there to the east. So I just wanted to provide some context with that, with the lot sizes. Rezoning criteria, We feel that we meet all the conditions of the rezoning criteria, works with the existing conditions. Overall, plat is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The average lot size is 17 acres, with 2 lots. Those residential uses are consistent with the existing uses around the property. Property can be served by all the county and utility providers and would provide no adverse impacts on other properties, and neighbors are supportive. With that, I'll turn this over to Alan Sampson, property owners, for a few comments on the stipulation and go from there.
I've got a question for you, Mr. Hill.
Sure.
I don't know, part of this floodplain, it says 1% chance floodplain. Never heard that terminology before.
Yeah, what that refers to, that's a floodplain that has a 1% chance in any given year to have, it's basically a 100-year flood. So that 100-year flood has a 1% chance of happening in any given year, is what that refers to.
All right, thank you.
And I'll add, Chairman, that 1% area is the area that we regulate in. So if any structure would be placed within that 1%, the Clay County has regulations that we would make sure were met, but I don't think they're proposing any structures within that area.
Yeah.
All right, do any board members have questions for Mr. Hill from KDC Engineering?
Thank you.
All right, we've got a lot of cases in here, so.
1 minute. Alan Sampson, 1491 Hemlock Court, Liberty, Missouri. I appreciate Mr. Hill presenting all that. Just the only comment I would make is we tried to figure out how to put 10 acres in there and still build, and given the woods, the flood zone, there was just really no good way to do it. And so this does allow both properties to have a driveway and not have to have an easement over one or the other, but even the driveway for the new 29-acre plot, you can tell we have to kind of hug it along the tree line. Otherwise, you get into steep wooded conditions, you get into flood plain, you have to cross creeks. So it wasn't one disregard of the 10-acre rule, it's just there was no way with our engineering firm that we could figure out, which is why we applied for the variance.
And Mr. Sampson, do you understand the staff's report and agree with the recommendations?
The only condition we asked is that barn has securing expensive machinery that's used to mow. The new barn will go up before December 1, so we just asked if we could have a couple of months before we tore the new one down, just for the safety and security of our equipment. It's not a must-have on our part, but it's a request we'd have, and we would contractually commit to have it torn down by December 1.
I think if things evolve with that, I'm sure that the P&Z staff will work that out.
Thank you for your
Do
time.
any board members have a question for that?
Well, and I will add, that is, the way the condition is now, that barn has to be demolished or moved before the recording of the final plat. So if the Planning and Zoning Commission, if you vote to approve and you want to change that condition would need to be amended. Otherwise, staff will enforce it as it's written, which is moved or demolished before the recording of the final plat. Just want to make sure that was clear.
I'm not sure I fully understand.
Now you know what you gotta do.
Well, we're going to tear it down, that's a guarantee. We can tear it down now, it just leaves a lot of equipment sitting out in the open, is the only.
Okay.
So we'll be happy to do whatever we need to do there.
All right. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case we heard that supports the application? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the application? I'd like to go ahead and call for...
Chairman, just a moment before you do. Could we clarify item 3 in Exhibit A? The way it's written, it makes it sound like it's one culvert that needs attention. There's actually two driveway entrances. The south one needs to have the culvert replaced or the silt removed. The north entrance, which actually goes to the property to the north, is the one that we're asking that it be removed because of site distance.
And so...
So there's actually 2 culverts or 2 driveway entrances that need attention.
May I, Chairman?
Sure.
So staff did not include the north, because Highway made a comment that they would like the north entrance removed. However, we believe there's an easement across that for the property to the north. So we didn't think we could require it to be removed because it would affect a property owner that's not part of this plat.
Okay.
I would like
aware
it-
there was an easement, but it has very poor sight distance. So that's why we were asking that it be removed.
Yeah, so I didn't even go over that in the report, but basically the property to the north has access through this far north east corner of this property, which highway says is a dangerous access, but there's an easement there, so we would need to vacate that easement, which would require the property owner to the north to be part of that, and we don't have them part of this application. That's why we did not put it as a condition.
Okay, that's fine then, we'll live with it. It's there now, we'll live with it.
All right, there's no additional discussion or call for a motion to approve the rezoning of the Sampson Meadow application.
Move to approve.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote.
David Rotis,
Yes.
Brad Scarlett,
Yes.
Terry Griffin,
Yes,
Mike Brinkley,
Yes.
Jerry Nolte,
Yes.
Mark Beggs,
No.
Randall Morris,
Yes.
and Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
I think we can roll right into a motion for the preliminary plat. And I would call for a motion to approve the preliminary plat of Sampson Meadow with the conditions attached as are set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
Could we have a roll call vote?
David Rotis,
Yes.
Brad Scarlett,
Yes.
Terry Griffin,
yes,
Mike Brinkley,
Yes.
Jerry Nolte,
Yes.
Mark Beggs,
No.
Randall Morris,
Yes.
and Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, the next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-134F. Do we have the staff report?
Yes, Chairman, would like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
So this is the final plat for Sampson Meadow. As we discussed earlier with a couple of the cases, we just make sure that the final plat matches the preliminary plat and the land development code. Staff believes it does. Obviously, staff recommended denial, but since planning and zoning voted to approve, my recommendation would be to approve the final plat, unless you just hate me and want to deny the final plat and approve the preliminary plat, but we would recommend you approve this as well with the same conditions that are shown in Exhibit A, and I would be happy to answer any questions the commission has and the applicant is present.
All right. Do any board members have questions for staff? With none, if the applicant or the owner would like to step up to the podium, please.
Alan Sampson again, 1491 Hemlock Court, Liberty Mo.
And Mr. Sampson, you understand and agree with the staff's report and the recommendations?
Yes.
Okay. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? All right, thank you, sir. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the application? With none, is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the application being heard? With no additional discussion, I would call for a motion to approve the final plat of Sampson Meadow with the conditions attached as set out in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote?
David Rotis,
Yes.
Brad Scarlett,
Yes.
Terry Griffin,
yes,
Mike Brinkley,
Yes.
Jerry Nolte,
Yes.
Mark Beggs,
No.
Randall Morris, and Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-135F. And could we have a staff report, please?
Yes, Chairman, would like to add the staff report as part of the official record. And just let me get there, I've got to start over.
So be it.
So this is Willow Ranch. This one will look familiar to some of the board members because the rezoning and preliminary plat have already been approved. And we obviously need to cut down on the number of slides we're doing. Okay, so here we go, Willow Ranch. So it's outlined in yellow there. It is zoned partially ag and R5 because the zoning has been approved. The rezoning and preliminary plat were approved in September of 2022, and currently there is one single-family residence, which you can kind of see on the north property line of the property. The proposal is 4 lots. Basically, they're stubbing in a little cul-de-sac that you can see in the black, and then there's 4 lots that range anywhere from 5 acres to 26 acres that have access off that cul-de-sac. Again, that preliminary plat was approved. This is basically just coming up and cleaning it up with the final plat. The biggest update from the preliminary to the final is that the construction plans for all the infrastructure improvements were reviewed and approved by the county on-call engineer. So that kind of happens after that preliminary is approved, but before they present a final plat. Here is the surrounding area, the lot in blue right there. You see Kearney to the south and east, I-35 to the east. And this area, there's a lot of ag zoning in the light green and a lot of, again, 3 to 5 to 10 acre lots you can see in the yellow and the orange. So it's an area that had a lot of development actually in the 70s and 80s where a lot of those R1 lots came from. But still a lot of ag zoning in this area as well. Again, the final plat approval, we look and make sure it's consistent with the preliminary plat. They haven't added any additional lots, haven't changed the lot sizes. Staff believes it's consistent with the preliminary plat. This one follows a little bit of a different process because of that infrastructure. Once that final plat is approved, the developer will install the infrastructure. Everybody will inspect that infrastructure and then approve it. Once that infrastructure is approved, the developer can record the final plat and sell lots. And then they have a 2-year maintenance period on that infrastructure, including snow removal and maintenance on the road. And after that 2-year maintenance period, Terry's crew will inspect it, and the county will accept that if it meets our standards into the system at that point. So staff's recommendation is approval with 11 conditions. This one has a lot more conditions because of that infrastructure. There's a lot more steps involved. Staff would be happy to answer any questions you have, and then Mr. Steve Warger is here representing the applicant.
All right, thank you, Kip. So this was heard by the P&Z at the September 2022 meeting, and the rezoning and preliminary plat were approved at that time.
Yeah, I won't say it's September for sure. That's when County Commission approved it. It could have been August, but yes, in 2022, this went in front of both the Planning and Zoning Commission and County Commission and was approved.
Okay, very well, thank you. Do any of the board members have questions for staff?
Yeah, this is familiar. Did this come before BZA? Did we see this? I remember
No,
this
I'm
from
not
something.
misremembering,
Okay.
right? No variances on this one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I just remember this.
there was
I think we had
you're probably thinking Northbrook, which was another cul-de-sac that exceeded
Like
the
this?
length, so it was similar.
All right, no, thank you, Kip. If either the applicant or the owner step up to the podium, please.
Good evening, Steve Warder, 6127 Northwest Pine Ridge Circle, Parkville, Missouri, 64152. Here on behalf of the owner. We're in agreement with the conditions and would ask for your approval. Happy to answer any questions.
All right. Well, I think it sounds like you've complied with all the county's requests and play by the rules. Do any of the board members have questions for the applicant? With none, thank you, Mr. Warder.
Thank you.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the case being heard that supports the application? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment that opposes the application being heard? Well, with no further discussion, I would call for a motion to approve the final plat of Willow Ranch with the 11 conditions attached as shown in Exhibit A.
Move to approve with conditions.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
We have a roll call vote.
David Rotis.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
No.
Randall Morris.
Abstain.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Then the next case we'll hear this evening is case number June 23-136A. And could have a staff's report or staff's update, please.
Yes, Chairman, would like to add the staff report as part of the official record.
So be it.
So this is an amendment to the Land Development Code. So I can't stress enough, this is still a work in progress. And it's this is, other than redoing the whole Land Development Code, this is probably the biggest amendment that's been proposed of the Land Development Code. And so my goal tonight is just to give you an overview of what we're trying to accomplish and what this may include. Now, this can be changed, and I expect some discussion at some point, but just wanted to give you the basics. And I expect this to be heard at least 2 or 3 Planning and Zoning Commission meetings. So happy to answer questions after I kind of go through this, but if the commission just wants to take the information, review it, and then have a discussion at the next meeting, I'm good with that as well. So basically, everybody knows that the Planning and Zoning Commission is a little bit different now. We have new state statutes that we're following, we have new members. So part of this is to align our Land Development Code with those new statutes that we're following. So that's one goal, because we have a new form of county government. We're a charter first-class form of government, which before we were considered second and third class for planning and zoning rules. So it's a complete different set of state statutes that we're following. So a second goal would be to create an administrative procedure to go along with minor and major subdivision. So the way it sits now, we're basically going to have 3 different processes, or proposing to have 3 different processes, and we'll go through those processes here in a minute. And then we're also trying to refine some code sections to make it just make more sense. So there's some areas that I think we can make it simpler, we can make it streamlined, and we can make it easier on the citizens. So let's talk about some of these processes. So an administrative procedure, the new state statutes allow the enforcement officer, which is a staff person, to approve certain cases. And the county can decide what cases those would be. These would be smaller developments. Staff's initial thought would be that this could be plats that are just moving property lines, or plats that create 2 or less lots. The ones that we generally don't have opposition to, that generally meet, or they would be required to meet, all the Land Development Code and comp plan requirements. And those could just be approved by staff. Now, we would still send out letters to neighbors. There'd be a waiting period where they could make comments. They would still have to do a plat and record the plat. But instead of going to public meetings, it could possibly be approved by staff. The second process would be what's called a minor subdivision. We have that in our code now, but it doesn't exempt out very many cases. Our initial thought is that this could be for developments with no internal streets, not be a planned unit development or conservation district, because generally those are large projects that we feel should go in front of the county commission. And cases like this could be approved at the Planning and Zoning Commission level and not go to county commission. Now, we could put a number of lot restriction on that, where it had to have 6 or less lots or 4 or less lots. But it would create a process where staff reviews it, provides a report to Planning and Zoning Commission, and Planning and Zoning Commission takes final action. And then the last process would be the major subdivision, which would be cases with interior streets or over a number of lots. And those would follow our normal process, which what we're doing now, which is staff review, Planning and Zoning Commission, and then on to County Commission. So to get into the weeds a little bit more, like the administrative process, staff thought conditional use permit renewals could go to a staff approval. If they're compliant with their conditions, there's no code violations, and there's no significant changes. Also, another benefit might be the agricultural land preservation that we talk about each month. Right now, to move that, you have to go through a rezoning, which means you have to go in front of the Planning and Zoning Commission and County Commission. That could be a case that could be handled by staff review. The proposed amendment would also get the BZA to match the state statutes, which is currently the members are 3 county commissioners. Some of the smaller changes that we put out there as part of this amendment would be requiring a pre-application meeting. That one's more for staff, because sometimes we get a plat that just shows up where we haven't met with the property owner, and then there's massive changes. Right now, the code says a pre-application meeting is, I can't remember how it's worded, but it's not required. This would make it be required. The current code requires that the applicant do the adjoiner list for the property owners that live within 1,000 feet. They have to pay somebody to do that. We think it makes more sense because the assessor has a search that we can just get on there and print off a list, that staff would handle that rather than the applicant. We're considering changing the certified mail requirement to regular mail because I get more complaints about people having to sign for their certified mail, people paying for their certified mail. It's $8.10 per letter. And we feel we'll get more letters to the neighbors by regular mail. Because some people, we get multiple letters every month just back unclaimed. The change from 30 days to 60 days for the time period to send a case to Planning and Zoning Commission, I want to explain that one a little bit because the purpose of that is not to delay when we send a case to Planning and Zoning Commission, but as the code is currently written, it says we have to send it to Planning and Zoning Commission within 30 days of when we receive it. But we also have a public notice requirement. So if somebody submits an application the day after public notice, I can't make that 30 days because I can't put it in the newspaper quick enough to get it to you in that 30-day period. And then the extending the waiting period for applications. So if somebody's denied for a rezoning or CUP, it would extend that waiting period to reapply for the same thing from 6 months to 1 year. I think that's a benefit to the adjacent property owners because after they've gone, you've seen the cases that are contentious. The neighbors have gone through that once. Should they be required to go through that 6 months or a year? So we thought about extending that to a year. And then with any of these, let's say a case is approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission, the applicant could appeal that decision to the county commission. So there is a way to forward it along to the county commission if someone disagrees. Now, again, I can't stress it's a big change, but it's also in its infant stages, and I want to be able to work on it over the next month and present a more formal document to you. The document that you received had the proposed changes. They were all highlighted. The areas of the code that were being removed were in red, and the additions were in green, just so you're aware. So I'd be happy to answer any questions, but if I understand if the board just wants to take the staff report and talk about it next month. Our recommendation is that you continue this to July, and then at that point, you can decide whether it needs to go to August or what we do with it. So I'm happy to answer any questions that the board has.
Yeah, I think it was 63 pages that was kind of new to me or us. At least 30 days, if not 60 days, to review and digest would be, I would be in favor of that. So I don't need, if we need to make a motion, call for a vote on that.
Do we need a motion on that and a vote? We always do it that way. So we'll ask.
Did we notice this a public hearing?
Yes.
Should we open up the public hearing?
We will.
Right now?
Well, he'll ask for public comment. That's where
Okay, okay.
So this notice is a public hearing, so I should, you open a public hearing to take public comments tonight as well as we're going to do.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and I assumed you were going to take public comment, so I didn't
You assumed correctly,
Okay, good.
after I was reminded. So any board members have questions for staff?
So I was looking at your table 151-3, it's the review and approval procedure summary. You had a lot of review or decision-making body. It says or. Is that just because this is a draft, or are we gonna say it's gonna be one
Well,
or the other?
so Mr. Beggs is referring to, we have a table in the code that basically says, staff for this type of case is a review body, a decision maker. And so some of those have R or DM, because if it could be a rezoning that falls under a administrative process where we're a decision maker.
Okay.
But we could also be a review if it's one that qualifies as a minor subdivision that has to go to Planning and Zoning Commission. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so on your administrative type decisions, are you gonna do the notice, take public comment, even if it's pretty straightforward?
That was my initial thought. Now I'm open to thoughts, we're also researching, I didn't mention this, we're researching the other first-class charter counties. Like, I think I was telling somebody earlier today that I believe it's St. Charles County sends nothing to the county commission at all, unless it's appealed. So the planning and zoning, they've really empowered their planning and zoning commission where even on the major subdivisions, they're a decision maker. Now, I don't think we should go that far. But to answer your question, my initial thought is we would still send, even if it's a 2-lot subdivision or even just a lot line adjustment, I think the neighbor should be notified by mail and given a chance to at least provide comments to planning and zoning staff. There may not be a public hearing, but they'll have a chance. There'd be a waiting period from when we send those letters to when the plat could be recorded to give the neighbors time to contact planning and zoning.
Yeah, I guess if you go out for public comment, you almost need to go out, if somebody opposes it, you almost need to go public comment, because I'm afraid you get people opposing it, you make a decision kind of behind closed doors. I don't know, maybe it's an attorney question, but it seems like that could be problematic.
And this is a first draft, so if the board, and that's the kind of thing I'm looking for, if the board feels like that everything should come to Planning and Zoning Commission, that's still a streamlined process, because maybe they don't go to County Commission if it's a lot line adjustment, or if you feel that if it's just a simple lot line adjustment, we don't notice the neighbors, that's the input I want.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm all for doing it administratively, but I just want to make sure the county, we cover our bases, make sure.
And yeah, this is early enough. I think I have a meeting set with Andy Rothman, I think next week, where we need to sit down and hash some things out. So you'll see some changes between this month and next month, but I just wanted to get the discussion started because it is such a big change. I want you all to start thinking about it and what you think is best as we move forward.
I have a question for you in regards to your example for St. Charles. Is the Planning and Zoning Commission there voluntary?
They are appointed, so it's similar to how you're appointed, yes.
That's where my concern comes, which is the opposite. So right now, we're an advisory board. So we take comments, we'll make a decision, and we give our referral or our recommendation to the county commissioner, and they're the decision maker. They're elected, we're not. You're an employee, we're not. That's my concern with making this body, the Planning and Zoning Commission, a decision-making body.
So let me ask, so what would be the concern if, because like BZA works that way. The Board of Zoning Adjustments, they make final decision. And how would that differ than what he's proposing here?
That's just my concern. My question is we've not been a decision-making body before that. We do have several contentious cases that come before us, to say the least.
And I would add, along those lines, I think the way I would like to see it is if, let's say a case blows up Let's say it's a 4-lot subdivision, they got 40 acres, they're doing 4 10-acre lots. If it blows up, and I would like to get it where this board has the option to send it to county commission. So if you choose to do that, you could, because I hear where you're coming from there. So I think we might be able to get to a place where if it turns into that you could forward it along.
We could make a motion for that option.
Say that again?
Make a, if we could make a
Oh,
motion to
yes.
send it to the,
Yes, yeah, I think.
say we approve, but we want to make a motion to send it to the commission for final.
That's my intention at this point. Now, I need to meet with Kevin and Andy and make sure that we're going down the right road.
So back to your question, is it a concern from the public optics kind of viewpoint that it should go to an elected official?
Well, I mean, we are appointed, but we are voluntary.
Right.
And now we're making binding decisions.
Yeah.
And I disagree with that. I don't think it's appropriate. I think an elected official should make that decision, or at the very least, an administrative decision by an employee who is responsible to the county in which they work. We are not. That's my concern, is that you have somebody that is strictly an appointed
That's like
volunteer.
being on a school board, that'll get somebody in trouble faster.
Exactly.
But if we were to have the option to kick it to the commission, which I'm not saying it's good or bad, I'm just saying you're gonna get all the hard decisions.
I was hoping
It's gonna be a lot easier to push it up to you guys.
I did have a question also, and that is you'd contrasted where you are, where this draft takes us compared to St. Charles County. Are there any other counties that are perhaps taking a similar road, more similar road that you are suggesting that we could look at and say, okay, so how does that exactly work and what is their experience? It doesn't necessarily have to be Missouri County, but that seems to be the most relevant.
So I need to do some more research on that, is the short answer. So I will do that between this meeting and next meeting, so I can lay out how those other counties are doing it. And kind of back to the other point we talked about is the way I read the state statute, and it really empowers, it specifically says the Planning and Zoning Commission shall hear these cases, is the way I read it. It doesn't really talk about sending a whole lot to the county commission. So that's, the folks at the state have kind of written that statute that way, is the way I interpret it. But I'll get you more information on the other counties.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, as we start going down this road, it would be nice to see if someone else has already gone down this road and if we could learn from some of their experiences. I do tend to agree as far as, I'm the only elected official, I guess, right here on this board, but I do agree that that having that final decision reside with the elected officials, it's not so much, it's not at all, in fact, a reflection of the competency of this board, but at this moment, what all the members signed up for was one set of circumstances. So one of the things that I have some concerns about, and that is changing the rules of the game sort of midway, because like I say, I think there could easily be some members of this board who don't feel comfortable going down that particular road where this body would render a decision. And as I say, it's kind of not what they signed up for. They signed up to be an advisory body. I do like the idea of the option of being able to kick it up to the county, but I'll be interested in hearing how the debate goes forward on this, because I'm rather a fan of the idea that that those of us who are elected, are basically have signed up for the responsibility of doing these things, and I want to make sure that we're not putting extra burdens on some members that might not feel that this is really a road they would want to go down.
As far as it going to elected and being able to kick it up, there's final decisions because the parties themselves can appeal to the county commission. So if they don't like the final decision that the planning and zoning comes up with, it's in their purview to make that appeal to elected officials. So I don't think we need to worry about whether or not we're making final decisions or simply an advisory body.
Oh, I think you're right on that, because the thing is, if we decide to go down that particular road, I think it's absolutely vital that there be the option of appeal. And it's pretty well laid out in pretty much anything we do, that a citizen has the right to appeal a decision made by whatever body they are before when it comes to government. So there's always an appeal process. I don't think anybody would suggest otherwise, but I think it's important to keep in mind that there be that appeal. So if a citizen wants to redress some grievance they have an option. So I think that's something that's pretty much common, and I don't see that going away on this, no matter how we come out on this particular decision point.
Any other discussion with board members and staff?
I don't know, this was a tremendous amount of work, though. I can, just what you've done, it's good. I mean,
And Shane's working on the rest of the code, so
Yeah,
the whole book's gonna get it at some point.
it's a huge undertaking, for sure.
Have we procured a third-party, I don't know, contractor to start updating the comprehensive plan that's 15 years old?
So I think that's, I can address that in my manager comments, but I think that's kind of off topic. But I will address that when we close.
Okay. All right, thank you, Kip. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the application being discussed that would support the discussion?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, if you want to step up to the podium. If your question is pertinent to our discussion.
That's what I said, it doesn't have anything to do with this, but I do have a question for you guys. Whenever you're-
Very well, can you step up to the podium, please?
My name's Jeanette Ruby, and I live at 11903 Hills Lane. I have a couple of questions. We have a situation that Confluence.
And Chairman, we're not noticed. This isn't part of the agenda, so I think if staff can handle this after the meeting, I
Okay.
think that would be the best way to
Is
go.
that-
We don't have a public comment portion, other than our cases.
Yeah. Is that acceptable? You get with staff after we adjourn our
My
meeting?
question is, I live on a road, I've talked to the highway department, I've talked to Kip. There is on record, there is nothing showing where the center of the road is, or where an easement is, or anything.
Yeah, I think-
How does the county determine where the center of the road is?
I think your questions and comments are out of our range of discussion this evening for the reason of this meeting. I think if you contact P&Z on regular business hours, they could point you in the right direction. And you could contact the highway department, they could point you in the right direction also.
I've talked to highway department, I've talked to Kip.
So if there are questions that I didn't answer, please contact me, because I thought I had answered your question. So contact me at the office. The Planning and Zoning Board is just about the cases
Okay, that's
tonight.
fine.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment on the discussion that opposes the application being heard? With no further discussion, I would call for a motion to table the hearing for the revisions to the 2011 Clay County Land Development Code at least until our July meeting. You'd have a motion to table, please?
Motion table.
Very well, do we have a second?
Second.
Very well, can I have a roll call vote?
David Rotis.
Yes.
Mark Beggs.
Yes.
Terry Griffin.
Yes.
Mike Brinkley.
Yes.
Brad Scarlett.
Yes.
Jerry Nolte.
Yes.
Randall Morris.
Yes.
And Chairman Tom Decker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, I think, you have any other business, managers' comments?
I will just give you a couple updates. The cases from April, your last meeting, which included Gibson, Sunset, which was Craven, the Tobacco Barn Farm, renewal of their CUP, and Varnell Estates, which was the lot line adjustment. Those were all approved by the County Commission. And then to give you an update on the comprehensive plan, Olson Studio has been approved by the county commission to be the consulting firm, and the project is getting ready to kick off. So we'll give you updates as we go throughout that process.
Good. Glad to hear. With no further discussion, I'd call to adjourn the meeting.
Hey, I was gonna talk to you. So I'm on the fishing road fire protection district. Well, we got like brush trucks and another, it's like 2 brush trucks, basically.